have to do this. We have to talk about the Wheat
Yeah.
Sox because this was a big part of our last couple of weeks, honestly. For those
I
who
can't
don't
believe
know,
it, like that it's that the veteran player draft. After I look back when we did the Instagram posts of when we were on the broadcast, when we were doing the actual auctions for the teams, it was 5 months to the day. 5 months, and it just flew by. Like in terms of our prep and oh man, like we can get into the process more later on another program. But yeah, the results are in, and I think we did pretty damn good, buddy.
Yeah, we'll put the roster. If you're watching on TikTok, you can already see the roster. I've had it as my background this entire episode so far. So you've seen our entire roster. We've already made some changes. One we haven't announced yet, and we can't tell you yet because it just hasn't happened yet. But something is brewing. And on top of that, we have released a player as well, which we can talk about because it is official. But let's bring it up. Here's our roster now. I don't know if that's super visible for everybody. I think it'll be okay. So if for those who don't know, Max and I are involved in something called UFLB, Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. It's this 30-team fantasy baseball league. It follows MLB rules exactly. There's a real salary cap involved. There's real roster move restrictions like options and 26-man rosters, 40-man rosters. We have to figure out our 40-man roster too, Max. So we have to talk about that. That's our next meeting.
I know that we're under 40, so that's good. That's a good place to start.
We have some spots to fill, so that's good. But it was an extremely exciting process because we've been talking about this since November now. We brought our team together in November. So it's been 4 or 5 months now of us talking about the idea of it, what we wanted to do, you coming up with the name, and I'll give you 100% credit. I always will. You came up with the name.
Thanks,
and it was after that show.
Put that Polytech education to good use, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Marketing,
1 day at a time.
Marketing. So we've been building this plan for a long time. We brought on our good buddy who we talked with last week on the SquadCast, Craig Ballard. He's a big part of the team. Our boy Tanner Ring, who we haven't had on the show yet. We tried one time, but he's
a little
busy.
Camera shy. He's a little camera shy, old Bonesy. Yeah. We'll get him.
That's okay, because he came on and helped us a lot with our roster preparation and our draft plans. So it's been a really fun time. Shout out to Paul Drouin, who bought the team in the first place to make this all happen.
The money guy's huge to all this. The money guy's kind of an important cog. He's
exactly.
Big part of it.
So the last weekend was the veteran player draft where, if you're doing a fantasy sports draft, we're drafting the MLB players. That was the biggest, the big chunk of what we're actually doing here. We had the 17th overall pick. So we were expecting to get a nice player, really a nice player. We had a lot of guys we thought were going to maybe fall to our spot, but we had no idea it was going to be Corbin Burns, the NL MVP, 27-year-old pitcher on a cheap contract. So for salary cap, that's huge, right? Because he's cheap, he's affordable, and he's going to be very good. He's just getting started. So we're really excited about Corbin Burns at 17.
And Clark, before we even just because we can't understate this, I sent you the highlight video of Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
Dude is a flat out beast. Craig was hammering the table because we had Walker Buehler on the board. That was our guy that we talked about extensively for months, and we had the option. And it was we didn't even talk about Corbin Burns because we thought there was absolutely no shot in hell.
And I said that in my video that I posted today. He thought he was going top 10. We didn't even think he was going to be close.
Possibly top 5. Ultimately, really, when it comes to, and then when you watch his highlights, man, his delivery.
It's going to crack another can of original 16 here, Max, while we get this started.
This crack is going to be that's the sound of 97 mile an hour moving fastball when Corbin Burns hits the.
I want to say it's Wheat Sox gold. This can is Wheat Sox.
There you go,
gold.
Good stuff, absolutely. But man, you just watch the tape on this guy, and I think that's what we're guilty of sometimes. That's where again, it's fantastic to have people like Craig on board who just have the eyes and ears for every single team. Because I know that I can speak for you in this. We get guilty of focusing in on our Jays, right? We absolutely love them, and that's not a problem. But again, when it comes to a draft like this, you need to have eyes in both the NL and the AL. And man, oh man, am I happy after watching the tape on this guy that Craig was literally banging on the table saying, forget Walker Buehler.
Yeah,
forget his name, get it in your mouth.
My nephew Jackson was watching Craig's live stream, and he told me later that day, because my mom had a birthday party later that night on Sunday. Yeah. And he told me, he's like, I saw Craig. I was laughing so hard with how much he really wanted Corbin Burns.
Oh yeah,
I just think because I was there was a draft broadcast, and that was I was actually not in the war room making the decision. So I got a text message, and it was just capital letters. We have to pick Burns. And I was like, okay, good, go for it.
Oh, no. Don't you do that. No, we have to
Well,
give Craig the credit he's due. I'm pretty
no,
sure
no, we
you
do.
sent about
And I
3.
did
You
say,
sure's in there?
I said Bueller's been our guy all along. Are we
Yeah.
sure? And I wasn't questioning. I was more
I
like,
was in the exact same boat you were, though. I
yeah,
was too. I really
yeah.
was
I
because
mean,
we
we've been
know what
planning
Walker
this one
Buehler
guy
does.
for all
Yeah.
along.
Mhm.
So are we sure? That's all I was asking.
Yep.
Like, we're good,
Absolutely. I'm
right?
I'm guilty of the exact
Um,
same thing you were.
One
Yeah.
thing I want to just mention here, let's bring it up. Colin, let's talk about this. So Paul Goldschmidt in the 4th round. He says it's a little too high. Now I don't know exactly what your reasoning is, Colin. Please, like,
Now, I
elaborate
think
maybe a little bit.
you know what though, and not Colin's fault here, because again, when it comes to this league, this is as nuanced of a league as you're going to find, right? In
Yeah,
terms of what the value is, consistency above all else is a fantastic metric to go off of. So
reliability,
in
consistency.
our opinion, when you look at Paul Goldschmidt's numbers over the past 6, 7 years, dating back to his time in Arizona, he's the definition of consistency. You know exactly what you're going to get out of Paul Goldschmidt. And when it came to first baseman on the board, I mean, that was at a point in the draft where I think 5 or 6 had already gone. So
At least, maybe
ultimately,
even more than that.
we were really happy to land a guy that, has north of 300 point potential, at least for our league anyways. And that's where, again, we'll have to maybe have a bit of a video
Yeah,
breaking
I
down like
mean,
the top 10
300
rules for
point doesn't
fans to
necessarily mean,
follow.
yeah, 300 point doesn't necessarily mean a lot to everybody, but
Right.
put it this way, like, the elite of the elite players are getting between 4 and 500 points, maybe some like
Mhm.
2 or 3 over 500 points. 3 to 400 is a very
I
good
think
baseball
Vladdy was
player.
the only first baseman that really even eclipsed into that territory last year.
Yeah, and
So
Juan Soto, I think, was the only other 500 point player last year. Otherwise, there was maybe
other than
15.
Shohei, yeah.
There was 15 or 20 400 point players, and the rest
Mhm.
of the really good echelon was 300 or more. And Paul Goldschmidt was in that group. And
At
not only that,
pick
but
137. He's easily a
yeah,
top 100 player in the game,
yeah, and
without a
call, yeah,
doubt.
exactly, Colin. You have to remember 30 teams in this draft. So by our pick in round 4, it was 107th pick overall. Like, it wasn't
137th. Oh no, sorry. Sorry, hold on. You're right. 107th. Sorry. Round
17,
5 was
47,
137
77,
because
107.
Springer was 77. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
Matt's
yeah, yeah.
getting a little
So
off
there
at
we
this
go.
time of the
It
evening.
was 107th overall, so 100 players had already gone ahead of him. So at that point, we were happy to get him. I got another comment today. Lance Lynn was maybe a little high at 5, but again, that was
Consistency.
137 picks, and he's been so reliable over the last few years. So, oh, here comes Aaron. He says, "Are we trading for Stripling?" I've had the conversation. I've had the conversation. So it might happen, but
Man,
we'll
you know
see.
what? Like and again though, that was the thing about it though, right? So in this, and again to answer Colin's question here, exactly, is this a keeper league? How many seasons do you plan on running this? Well, ultimately, as long as we can go, right? That's what the idea of this is. This is like it's supposed
It
to
is a
model
keeper league.
professional baseball ownership
Yeah.
is what this is
We now
supposed to
own
model.
these players in this league forever unless we trade them or cut them or whatever, but this is forever. So, if we get Paul Goldschmidt who has 3 really, really good seasons,
Mhm.
all of a sudden we're laughing because at the same time, Max, I thought about this as well with Goldschmidt in St. Louis. If the universal DH comes in, all of a sudden we can
Which it
squeeze 2
is.
or 3 more years out of Paul Goldschmidt because now he's a
Exactly.
DH. You know what I mean?
Thought Nelson Cruz could hit bombs into his 40s. Wait till you see Paulie Goldschmidt.
I know.
But
And he's only
anyways, I
34.
guess yeah, he's 34 only right now. My last point on this, though, before we can kind of move on, is, and we kept saying it in the draft room, right? Like this was a draft, the ultimate draft where you're in your league with your 10 to 12 buddies where you're like, ah, shoot, you snagged my guy. There was
Yeah.
29 other teams in this league. So
Yeah,
we had
every single
one of
round, we were
every
getting 3
30
or 4
picks.
guys. We were getting 3 or 4 guys stolen from us every round,
So it
let
was
alone
very, very difficult to
early.
finally land on. Again, not to say that we were disappointed, because I think ultimately when we talk about the projections of where we slot to finish, based on 2021 stats, anyways, we did very, very good in terms of we're in the top 15% in terms of the
Yeah,
entire league.
one of the teams did a bit of a ranking of last year's numbers, and I
Mhm.
guess this comes we would even be even higher last year because some of our players were hurt. Like, I think of Sir Anthony
George
Dominguez,
Springer.
George Springer, Sir Anthony Dominguez as our 16th rounder. Like,
Mhm.
if he was healthy, he would have been a 200 to 300 point
Alex
reliever
Cobb missed
probably.
some time too, didn't he?
Yep. There was a few guys on our list that did.
Merrill Kelly.
Tommy Listella got hurt.
Yep.
So a few of our guys did last year. So if you think about that, uh, in the terms of those guys being healthy, we would have been even higher. But I think we had a 41-ish 100-point total over at the end of the year last year.
Mhm.
And I think that would have put us 6th or 7th overall in the entire league as the 17th overall pick. So we're feeling pretty good about that right now. And we've already, I will say this, we have made a trade that has already made this roster even stronger. And I'm excited to announce it. We can't yet. I just can't do it because I've been told not to say anything. So
non-disclosure agreements, stuff like that.
But I'm hoping in the next few days we can announce it and you'll see what we're talking about.
Jeez, man, you got me all hyped up. I thought we were doing it today. That's why I did the graphic. I mean, the marketing department did the graphic up, and
it's out of my hands, right? The league is getting everything set up and formatted, and until that happens, we can't do anything. So once that happens, we will. I promise. Colin is saying that's what I'm saying. If the universal DH doesn't happen, you only have him on the field for 3 more years.
Hey, you know what? You know what, Colin? No disrespect, but if this team right here thought about only 3 more years from now, wouldn't have a championship.
Yeah,
we're in a win now window. That's where we're at.
And here's, I guess, one thing I just also wanted to mention to those who are interested. So if you're still watching, thank you for watching. But it wasn't our plan to go, if you look from pick 2 to 7, those are all 30-year-old plus players.
Yeah, we did not anticipate doing that.
It wasn't our plan to do that. We were thinking of going young and a little bit cheaper. We wanted to be a kind of a budget team that, got some young guys and developed them and let them sit there for a bit. It quickly turned into that not being available to us. In the first round, the amount of guys who were under the age of 25 that were drafted was astounding. I wasn't surprised, but it was high. Second round right away, 10 or 12 guys went that we had targeted.
Our boy Alek Manoah.
Alek Manoah, he got picked before our second round pick even. So we were kind of adjusting a lot as we went. And I'll give full credit to Craig Ballard. And hope he hears this. Second round, when we got our pick, we were going to take somebody else. And then he's like, Salvi's right there. We should just do it. And I was like, Salvador Perez, are we sure we're going to do this? And it turns out, Max, that somebody who had the 7th overall pick
was going to take him the very next round.
They would have taken him in the top of the 3rd round if he was still available.
Well, and there was points in our pre-scout meetings where Craig, again, credit to Craig, good call, Craig, banging on the table saying, you know what, if our plan A and B fall through, we should really look to get the best catcher in the game at pick number 17 even. And we got him 30 slots later. That's the epitome of a perfect plan falling into place where it just kind of, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say. So this is one of those times where, again, great to have great scouts. Tanner Ring coming through with some of those mid-round selections. Again, a guy banging on the table for a Raimel Tapia, a Miguel Rojas, and our 26th round pick, Uris Familia, who in terms of a player,
all
bonesy, and a guy that when you identify him and look at his production the last 4 or 5 years, Juris Familia could easily be a guy for our team that contributes a lot throughout this entire season. So we're just lucky to have such a good staff that was able to kind of rally around and say, you know what, if our plan A and B fall through, don't worry about it. We're going to have a 1A and a 1B. And it was just awesome to have those guys both in the room, just feeding us the intel that we needed to build what we consider as a team that's going to compete this year. No doubt about it.
And we're not done yet. Like I said, there's stuff happening, and not only one trade, there might be 3 trades on the board that we might be able to pull off before the season even starts. So always looking for ways to improve. And
your new nickname for me is going to be Clint. just
if
firing off trade bullets all the time, like Western Clint Eastwood.
That kind of Clint.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
If you're watching this from the UFLB, anybody owners or GMs of teams from the UFLB, come chat.
Clark says to us in the text today, is like, you know what, I might not be making all these moves, guys, but I'm just here to establish a presence that we're going to be an aggressive team. I'm like, well, the fact that you've messaged 29 other teams already maybe makes them think that. So I mean, I think we're okay.
I think we're at about 14 or 15 though, legitimately.
We're hard buyers. We're hard buyers. We don't even have a date for an opening pitch yet this season, and we're already hard buyers at the trade deadline. So it's a good spot to be in.
My boy Captain Stubich says, "Is that Coco Crisp?" Funny enough, Coco Crisp I think got selected, if I'm not mistaken.
Available for Legends League, yeah.
Didn't somebody take him, or was he just on the list?
He was at the top of the board for a while at the end of the draft.
I know. So I was pretty funny that you mentioned that because he was legitimately on there. No, we did not take Coco Crisp. For those on TikTok who are looking at my board, if I'm looking stupid over here, it's because my background on TikTok is our roster. So I'm just showing everybody.
You're looking stupid for a lot of other reasons, but
Thank you.
whatever. Nope, sorry.
Appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you.